I mean, I swear I go to one dang baseball tournament weekend for a bunch of 8-year-olds, and I miss a whole lot of stuff. And that's obviously a little bit tongue-in-cheek because my summers are almost all Little League baseball tournaments. My voice is very tired today it's generally good stuff, shouting instructions and encouragement to children. But you're going to find that this is Dan does the old broadcaster trick of getting real close to the microphone and kind of making my voice go up and down without getting louder and quieter. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. I'm Dan Bespris. Please make sure to hit that like button if you're watching the video. Subscribe, however you're taking in the content. I continue to be really, really excited about the fact that the network is growing even in the dead of the off season. Not something that's happened in seasons past wherever I've been. So this is super duper cool. Shout out to Adam King and Noah Rubin for all their content that they've been putting out here on the Old Man Squad YouTube channel as well. Today, we are talking, to no one's surprise, Kevin Durant, who was traded while I was off coaching Little Leaguers. The Phoenix Suns, this is the Shams Charania tweet that I will read verbatim. Quote, breaking, : should always talk about a colon on a Dan Bespris podcast. The Phoenix Suns are trading two-time NBA Finals MVP Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets for Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, the number 10 pick in this draft that is just moments away, and 5 second-round picks, sources tell ESPN, which goes to show you that after Desmond Bane just racked up 1 billion picks from the Orlando Magic, basketball is not played and contracts are not moved in a vacuum. You would have thought that Kevin Durant would have fetched at least 2 first-round picks, potentially more. But the flip side of that in this particular situation is that the Suns don't want to go into a full rebuild. So they were looking for NBA-ready players coming back. Then they obviously have to salary match or get somewhat close to it. And that's how we get to this collection of players. Bottom line here is the Rockets got the star that they so desperately needed. They were really exposed when the playoffs came around more than anything else, because the Rockets went 52-30 during the regular season and were very, very good on the road because their defense was awesome. But when playoffs came around, you have to find a way to score when everybody's defense suddenly gets good. And the Rockets did that to a certain degree, but they really only overcame a good opponent on days when Jalen Green was hot. And that's not a sustainable recipe. It's not a sustainable plan for the Rockets going forward. They have all of these incredible young basketball players, and they still have most of them. Depending on how you feel about Jalen Green, you might even say they still have all of them, that are set up to succeed around someone who can be that kind of heliocentric type of team. And now they got that guy. Admittedly, an old man. Kevin Durant is not a spring chicken anymore, but dude can still score like a son of a gun. And he fits exactly what the Rockets were lacking. He's not super quick defensively anymore, but he's almost 7 feet tall. And I think he has the wingspan of that's like 11 and it's like 35 feet wide. So Durant can still cover a bunch of ground even without being all that fast. So he doesn't take a ton away from what they're trying to do on defense. Other than that, they did give up their enforcer in Dillon Brooks, but they have like 3 more enforcers waiting in the wings. This show, of course, is a fantasy basketball show, so you guys probably want to know what this means from a fantasy standpoint. And let's start with Kevin Durant. Here's the thing, guys. Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant. It kind of doesn't matter where you put him. He's going to be really, really good. This last season, 37 minutes a game, almost roughly 26, 27 points per game, 2.5 threes, 6 boards, 4 and some odd assists, a little less than a steal, more than a block. Amazing percentages as they have been for many, 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 many years now on KD. And that's all going to translate just fine. In fact, you might even argue that he goes from a place where he was sharing touches with Devin Booker, who is also offensively an alpha. Booker took 19 shots a game this year. And as much as he was quite bad this season. Bradley Beal was taking 13 shots a game, to a team where the clear number one guy on offense is now gone. They got exchanged. And again, however you feel about Jalen Green as a basketball player, and I'm not super high on him, but again, it doesn't really matter. He was taking 17 and a half shots per game. That's the most on the Rockets. Alperen Şengün, second most on the team at 15. So yes, they spread the wealth around a little bit, but Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks combined took 29 shots a game this last year. More, actually. I think it was 29 and a half. So they sent out, if that's just what you're looking at, and we can try to simplify this thing as much as humanly possible, the Rockets sent out 29 and a half shots per game and about 5 assists per game. If you're just looking at like straight usage, and if you can throw free throws in there as well, 5.7 free throws per game. And they brought back one Kevin Durant, who, again, while a very high usage player and higher than anybody that they sent out, KD was 18 shots, 6 free throws, and 4 assists. That's less, substantially less, that the Rockets brought back in minutes per game and usage than what they sent out. And from a fantasy standpoint, that's awesome news. And I'll tell you why after this word from me on our friends from Bet Online, who continues to be your number one source for all sports betting action. The NBA playoffs, with a groan of disgust, came to an end over the weekend. Poor went out for Tyrese Halliburton. Don't worry, we'll do a show where we talk about Tyrese a little bit more. But there's plenty still going on over at Bet Online for you to get down on. Baseball season. How about that? Why not baseball? Baseball season is in full swing. You got EuroLeague, I think, is going, or there's like a Turkish league happening right now. You got soccer. Tennis is happening seemingly all the time. Every time I log on, there's tennis happening. You can get down on all of that before the game starts or live in-game betting, because BetOnline has the latest odds, news and scores, and the opportunity to bet during the actual games themselves. In between games, head down to the BetOnline casino with all the top Vegas-style action, including poker, a live casino, over 20 different types of blackjack, and so much more for you guys to check out while you're there. Head to the website today as well and take advantage of the industry-leading BetOnline VIP program with level-up bonuses and weekly cash boosts. It's a BetOnline. The game starts here. I don't want to say that we're going to get sort of like the best version of Kevin Durant, because he does get a year older every season. But a Kevin Durant that was seemingly not taking a back seat at all to Devin Booker, but sharing the driver's seat, is no longer that. There's no one on this Rockets team you can point at and say, that's the guy that should also be doing as much offense as Kevin Durant. The other guy is going to be Alperen Şengün, who, excellent offensive player. Again, not meant to take anything away from Alpi on this show, but KD is just a better offensive player. Like he did seemingly the hardest part of 50, 40, 90 this season, but he didn't hit 90% at the free throw line. Shot 43% from downtown, KD. He's just incredible from everywhere. I don't know how many shots Kevin Durant takes this coming year, but it feels relatively safe to say it's not going to be less than this past season in Phoenix. There is no Devin Booker on the Rockets. Even if Şengün does more, it's still not the 19 shots per game that Booker took. And there isn't even really a Beal on that Rockets team. Who would potentially be that guy? Amen Thompson? Freddie VanVleet? These guys are not dudes that want to jack up shots a ton. Even at his fantasy apex, VanVleet wasn't taking that many field goal attempts per game. And I know that I'm doing a lot of discussion right now on just shot attempts, but what you're looking for when you start trying to figure out what a player is going to do in a given season is just how many shots are they going to take? How many minutes are they going to play? And how many shots are they going to take? You can derive quite a lot from those two numbers. Kevin Durant has never taken fewer than 16 and a half shots a game in a season. And the year that he was there was the first season in Golden State, where he maximized efficiency and was like, that's fine. This is, still Steph's team during the regular season. He had a year in Brooklyn where he was hurt quite a bit, and then there was the Kyrie and James Harden thing where it was supposed to be kind of a three-headed monster, that he was in the 17s. That's the low watermark. Three-headed monster, basically 17 and some odd shots per game. Two-headed monster, typically in the 18s, sometimes even as high as 19. And solo blaster, what'd you call it? I don't know what the right word would be, and waste any more podcast time trying to come up with it. Typically in the 19s. Sometimes even eclipsed 20. Not often. 2021 in Brooklyn was the last time he took over 20 shots a game. And he averaged 30 points per game that season. That was crazy. That was the KD. See if you can do all this stuff, because what was that? What did I just say that was? 21, 22? Yeah. That was Kyrie was gone. I think Harden was already traded, or no? Where was Kyrie for that one? In and out. Doesn't matter. He was number 2 in all of fantasy basketball that year. So Kevin Durant's solo attack, top 3 fantasy guy. That's the most recent example of what he can do when he's up near 20 shots per game. I don't think he's going to get 20 shots per game, but I feel like 19 is well within reach. And to see the last time he had 19 shots, you only have to go back to last year. So simple. He was number 12 for reasons I can't fully figure out. I think the 3.3 turnovers was probably the big deal there. Normally a lower turnover guy. But are we really that worried about that? The guy you're drafting this past season in the second round, he might be drafted in the first round now. That last season where he took 19 shots a game with Phoenix, because Booker was hurt for a while and so on and so forth. You guys know how the story went there. 8-cat, he was number 9. And Kawhi Leonard was in front of him, who may or may not be in front of him this year. Donovan Mitchell was in front of him, who probably won't be. The rest of those guys, I mean, Joel Embiid is a big question mark, whether he can even play or not. Paul George was in front of him in 9-cat. Tyrese Halliburton, Kyrie Irving were in front of him in 9-cat. Those guys are gone now. Well, Paul George is not gone, or Tyrese and Kyrie are cooked. So you're looking at Shea, Jokic, AD, Luka, Wemby. Almost forgot about Wemby. Whoops. Those are the 5 ones where you're like, yeah, these guys are probably pretty clearly going to be ahead of Kevin Durant in per game ranking this coming season. And then Halliburton was up there, but again, he's out most likely for the entire year. Steph has a shot to be up there. He was top 5 the second half of this season, so that was pretty good. If Tyrese Maxey has any teammates back, how good does Joel Embiid become? I think you're looking at a season now for Kevin Durant where, I don't think he's going to be top 5 like it was 3-4 years ago. The pinball numbers that players put up right now has kind of changed what even that season would be today. Still be really good. But I do think that Kevin Durant as a top 10 per game guy is a pretty safe bet. And you could maybe make the argument that top 8 isn't even a small reach. Top 6 is where you start to get into reach territory. It could happen, but a lot of things have to break the right way. And a lot of things have lately with, Jason Tatum being out for the year, Kyrie being out for most of the year, Dame being out for probably the year, Halliburton now out for the year. So you're left with, what did I say? Jokic, Shea, Wemby, top 3 are the really obvious ones. Luka probably stays in front of him, especially if he shoots the ball a little bit better. And Anthony Davis. And beyond those guys, you're like, well, I could kind of argue that Kevin Durant should be next. Do I want to spend like a 6th pick on KD? I certainly don't. He's very, very old. I know this is an old man squad podcast, but I don't really want to draft a dude that old with my first round pick, but we might not have a choice. What does it mean for the rest of the Rockets? I actually think it's totally fine. Like we just said, they sent out more than they brought back. They sent out Jalen Green's 33 minutes a game and Dillon Brooks 32, and they brought back Kevin Durant, who's probably going to play 34 or 35. That leaves 28 to 30 unaccounted for minutes. Outstanding. That means that we can guarantee that Amen Thompson is getting maximum minutes. Not that we didn't think it was going to happen, but there was a little bit of a logjam there where you're like, all right, well, maybe he gets stuck at 32 minutes or like 29 to 32 instead of 31 to 35. I think we can feel pretty comfortable that he's going to be in that 31 to 35 range this year. This means that if Tari Eason can stay healthy, his path to 25 to 30 minutes becomes much simpler. I'm assuming they bring back Freddie VanVleet on maybe a more team-friendly deal, especially now that KD's around. He's going to want to be there. That doesn't impact things all that much. Şengün he's locked into his spot. This is probably helpful for Jabari Smith Jr., but I don't really trust him all that much. I mean, probably worth a very late flyer. And then maybe we start to see a little bit more from guys like Cam Whitmore and Reed Shepherd as we go, but I don't think that you need to spend any draft capital on those guys. Where would I draft those dudes? I don't know. We're going to have to see. I mean, Amen Thompson in 33, 34 minutes a game is a top 40 fantasy player. Tari Eason, if he gets up to 26, 27 minutes a game, he could be a top 50 guy. Super low turnovers, super high steals type. So maybe you don't want to go that early on draft day, even if the 9-cat ranks suggest that he should be that good. Freddie VanVleet should definitely go later than he went last year. Maybe more like a top 50 kind of guy. Hope for a little bit of a field goal percent bounce back. Şengün, we've talked about a million times, that punt free throw side. And I think that pretty much takes care of the Rockets portion of the proceedings. So now you flip over to the Phoenix side, and they just had subtraction by addition from a fantasy standpoint. Nothing's really going to impact Devin Booker. And frankly, he might be a guy who benefits from this because now instead of feeling like he needs to share his, his collection of 50 shots with Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal, share it with Jalen Green and Bradley Beal. I mean, he's going to go beat Devin Booker. So I would assume that Booker's field goal attempts per game stay pretty much the same. And the good news there is no one they brought back is a traditional ball handler. So the Devin Booker 6, 7, 7.5 even assists type of window is probably going to hold. I don't think that this means that Booker is going to suddenly be, a top 18 or better fantasy guy like he was not this season, but the prior one. But I do think that he's a very safe draft pick if you take him, between 20 and 30, because as we saw this last season, in kind of a worst case scenario, which is, I don't want to say what this season was a worst case scenario, but, just like the 19 shots per game, he had both Beal and Durant around to deal with. He was still a top 35 guy in 9-cat and better than that in 8-cat. He was number 22 in 8-cat. So it's a very safe, I think, 20 to 25 range type of guy. We'll see where he gets drafted. People might be freaked out that they added more bodies, but to me, it's not going to impact Booker negatively at all. If anything, he might even get a boost from just not having another alpha and instead having a much more clear number 2 behind him in Jalen Green. And then there's still Bradley Beal floating around. This is not great, however, for everybody besides Booker, because Beal was already kind of sliding towards the periphery. And my initial thought was like, well, if Kevin Durant goes out, they're not going to bring back anybody that slots in ahead of Beal, but I think they did. Jalen Green to me is younger. I think they're probably going to be excited to have a fresh face. They're sick of Beal. That does matter internally when an organization is just sort of done on a guy and he's going to be out there going through the motions. So my thought when I was planning for a Kevin Durant trade was, I bet Bradley Beal ends up as a draft day value because everybody hates him, rightfully so, because he's multiple annoying fantasy seasons in a row. I am officially rescinding that. I'm going to call it a prediction, but it was like kind of a fleeting hope. And instead, I think I'd rather mostly try to avoid Bradley Beal this year. I think they're going to be trying to move off of him, whether it happens before, during, never. if they can't trade him and his contract is tough to trade, then, or I mean, they have some more assets now to try to include to get off of a Bradley Beal contract. But if they can't move him, then I think he'll probably just be marginalized and be more of that like 75 range fantasy producer this year with injury downside, meaning I'd rather look to draft him in a games cap format, maybe around 85, because I think there'd be a little bit of upside should he end up at a place where he's, kind of the lone dude doing whatever, a crappy team where he can just take a bunch of shots and nobody cares. Because then he could be a top 40, top 50 guy. But a lot of stuff needs to break right for that to happen. A lot of like big, monumental, team changing kind of stuff. Because I think the Suns take both of the guys they got from the Rockets and immediately just drop them into the starting lineup. Dillon Brooks probably takes Kevin Durant's spot in the starting lineup. The Suns' starting lineup was goofy as hell down the stretch. They were starting Colin Gillespie alongside Booker and Durant, and sometimes Nick Richards at center, and the remaining body was sometimes Royce O'Neal and sometimes Ryan Dunn, the rookie, and sometimes Beal got a shot, and sometimes Tyus Jones got a shot. That's just going to get uglier because now they have two guys that they feel much more confident in, which, by the way, we'll talk about Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks in just a second, but to me, they're kind of the most boring part of this entire story. So just to recap what we're talking about on the Phoenix side, I think Devin Booker will be fine, possibly even the tiniest bit better. Beal is going to be about the same. Maybe you like the shot you take on him is if you think he gets moved at some point. And then beyond the big name guys, like Ryan Dunn, who got to play more down the stretch, like he's not going to jump over Dillon Brooks or Jalen Green. So your starting lineup now is some center, probably. So Nick Richards, Mason Plumlee, someone along that line. Booker, Green, Brooks, and couldn't possibly tell you. Could be Gillespie, could be Dunn, could be Bull, could be Grayson Allen, could be Royce O'Neal, could be, I don't think Tyus Jones is signed anymore. This was a 1-year deal. Was Royce's also? Doesn't matter. Point is, the fifth spot is super duper up for grabs. And the number of minutes that are being split among all of these guys fighting for the extra spot is even worse than it was last year. Beal getting to 30 minutes feels extremely unlikely when you figure that they have 4 positions that are pretty locked in. Even if the center spot gets split up among Richards, Plumlee, Bull, or go extraordinarily small for a stretch. Because then you've got Booker at shooting guard or point guard, depending on, I guess you could call him the point guard. Jalen Green, shooting guard, Dillon Brooks, small forward. I don't care. You can size them up if you want, but you'll have their backup minutes, which behind Booker was only like 11, 12 minutes a game. Behind, let's just remove the center spot because none of the players we're talking about really have anything to do with that. Jalen Green, as we just talked about, low to mid 30s. Dillon Brooks, low to mid 30s. So you've got a dozen. Add another 14 to that, you're at 26. Add another 15, 16 to that, you're at like 42. Plus all of the one remaining spot, you're at like 90. Call it 90 minutes if you want to call it 95. You can even call it 100. I don't care. That are being split among Beal, O'Neal, Grayson Allen, Ryan Dunn, Colin Gillespie. If Tyus Jones comes back, Oso Iguodala is in there. If he soaks up any big man minutes, it's just too many bodies. It's 4 or 5, 6 potential bodies all fighting for 100 minutes. There is a chance that someone rises to the top, and the hope would be that it's Grayson Allen because he has the most fantasy-friendly game of these guys. Well, if we're not including Tyus Jones, those two guys could both put up numbers if they got starters minutes, but it seems unlikely. Unless one of those guys just magically turns into a way better ball player, I don't think any of them have a true claim to starters minutes at that 5th spot, whatever it happens to be for the Suns. This, again, depended a little bit on which guys come back. Now, if a few guys are not back, maybe that loosens it up a little bit, but I think sign someone else in the mix. So this is very much subtraction by addition on the Phoenix side. The logjam just got log jammier or loggier jam. No, I think it's log jammier. Reminds me of an old joke. You guys know the difference between jelly and jam? Don't Google it. Don't Google it. I just told you not to. What are you doing? Nobody ever listens to me. And then the last note there, of course, is what does it actually mean for Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks, two players who did not belong on 9-category rosters if you were going straight roto. Dillon Brooks, there was really nothing you could do to his fantasy game to make him startable in almost any format. Jalen Green, a punt field goal build made him worth starting in a lot of formats. He was a top 90-ish, so 8th, 9th round range if you were punting field goal, but you generally had to draft him at that spot or, basically right around that spot. So he generally wasn't much of a value. And now he goes to a team where instead of being the number 1 guy on offense, he's the number 2. So I would assume that Jalen Green takes a little bit of a hit. Dillon Brooks probably does exactly the same amount that he was doing in Houston because he'll just siphon a little off of all the random dudes in Phoenix that were getting 3, 4, 5 shots this last year. So Dillon will get his dozen shots, but do we really care? Even if you punt his worst category, which was field goal percent, by the way. I guess you could argue assist was pretty bad. Dillon's still barely inside the top 150. So I don't care about Dillon Brooks. There's almost nothing that he could do outside of playing 35, 36 minutes a game. That might get him close in a punt field goal build, but I don't think you need to worry about him. Jalen Green, if you're punting field goal, he's a late pick. Someone's going to take him earlier than that. So odds are we won't have him on basically any of our fantasy teams again, which I never have. I don't think I've ever had Jalen Green on any team, and I don't see that changing next season either. Coming up on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball, you are subscribing to it. And then coming up after that, we're going to talk to Adam King about his thoughts on this Kevin Durant blockbuster move and the injury to Tyrese Halliburton. That will be tomorrow, most likely, here on the channel. Again, rate, subscribe on the way out. I am Dan Bespris as the Western Conference power balance continues to shift. By the way, I'll also say this at the conclusion. This might actually lead to more wins for both teams. Not because I think the Suns get better, but because they needed defense and they brought in sort of an enforcer type. Odds are the Suns are worse right now. If they can get off of Bradley Beal's contract and maybe just get a little bit deeper, they might kind of replicate what they did last year. But this, to me, elevates the Rockets to a title contender. This is exactly what I thought Houston needed, which is that focal point guy. The guy that when things get ugly, they can just say, take a shot, go do a thing. And for KD, going and just doing a thing is a 50% chance that it's going in. What a massive luxury. Think back to I know it's a while back now, but think back to the Warriors playoff runs when KD was on those teams and their motion offense was slowing down and teams were figuring out a way to cover it. They were just like, here, Kevin. We haven't scored in 3 possessions. Here, Kevin. He's still got some of that in the tank. Thunder are going to be tough to get over. That's for damn sure. But this is a team that's now kind of built to give them a pretty good shot. Well done, Houston. Tip of the cap. I'm Dan Bespris for Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. We'll see you guys tomorrow.